These are top stories. Global Fund commends President Samia's efforts in strengthening health sector. Nations urged to cooperate to overcome famine and poverty. Good evening, I am Faida Ngaga. You can also follow us live via our YouTube channel, TBC Online. Also, get all the latest news through our Instagram, Facebook, and X pages at TBC Online. President Samia Suluhu Hassan has held video talks with the Executive Director of Global Fund, Peter Sands, on different issues of cooperation between Tanzania and Global Fund. Deputy Minister of Health, Dr. Godwin Mollel, says Sands commends President Samia Suluhu Hassan for her efforts in strengthening health sector in the country.
Wamekomenti pia jinsi ambavyo rais wetu amefanya vizuri sana kwenye eneo la mama na mtoto.
They have praised how our President Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan has done an outstanding job in area of maternal health care. They also noticed that our President became the 7th in the world to receive the Goalkeepers Global Award and the first in Africa to receive this honor. Today, we are here for one reason. Representatives from Global Fund are requesting that our President lead the team responsible for mobilizing resources for the Global Fund. Some major countries have reduced their contributions, and now they believe that our President can help support and levitize the fund.
In other news, the country director of the Joint United Nations Program on HIV or AIDS, UNAIDS, Dr. Martin Audit, has reaffirmed the United Nations commitment to supporting Tanzania in its fight against HIV or AIDS. He emphasized the United Nations will continue to collaborate with the Tanzanian government and its partners in planning, tracking progress and mobilizing resources to help achieve the 2030 goal of ending the epidemic. Speaking to my colleague Caroline Maleo, Dr. Audit commended Tanzania's efforts in prioritizing the HIV or AIDS response, particularly in light of the Prime Minister's April report to Parliament, which revealed a troubling 30% increase in new infections.
New infections have been a challenge, not only in Tanzania, but even globally. But in Tanzania in particular, the partners led by government had set targets of reducing new infections from 110,000 in 2010, reducing them by 85% to nearly 15,000 by 2025. But the latest estimate we had in around 2023 was that there were still about 53,000 new infections. And this is, I think, the concern, meaning that it's unlikely that we would achieve the 2025 target. And it's concerning. Because if you don't reduce new infections, then the epidemic continues to grow.
Mr. Audit, a report by the Prime Minister in April at the Parliament, it shows that there are more than 30% new HIV/AIDS infections in the country. Can you tell us how is the UNAIDS supporting the government of Tanzania in the fight against HIV/AIDS?
The comment by the Prime Minister in the Parliament was a very important one. I'm also pleased that at that very high level, HIV is being given the priority it deserves. And I thank the Prime Minister and also High Excellency the President, Dr. Samia Suluhu Hassan, for championing the HIV/AIDS cause. From the UN's point of view, UNAIDS supports the country in a number of ways. One, in the planning of the response. Two, in the monitoring of the response, and also monitoring and evaluation, but also in the resource mobilization. So planning, for instance, every 5 years globally, the UNAIDS assists the world to come up with what we call a global aid strategy, which gets approved at the General Assembly of the United Nations by heads of state and government as what is called the United Nations Political Declaration on HIV and AIDS. And together they usually come up with very ambitious targets so that they can drive the response. Now, those declarations and the global aid strategy are domesticated in the country, again with support from UNAIDS. So they developed the national multi-sectoral HIV strategy, for instance, the one number 5 now that is for Tanzania. Very far, we have got the global aid, the global fund. And we do provide Tanzania and other countries with technical assistance to write proposals to enable the country to, access these funds and make sure those proposals also are aligned to their national strategies.
He further described the government's proactive stance as a promising indicator that with strengthened action, the 2030 target remains attainable. In other news, Vice President Dr. Philip Mpango says it is important for nations to cooperate in order to overcome famine and poverty and speed up rural development as those issues cut across borders. Dr. Mpango made the remarks in Brasilia at Brazil and Africa Conference on Food Security and Rural Development. Here are more details.
Gathering of heads of state, ministers of agriculture from Africa, international organizations like FAO, IFAD, WFP, World Bank, and other stakeholders in Brasilia, Brazil, meet for a dialogue between Brazil and Africa to discuss food security and rural development. This is the second time such a kind of dialogue is taking place after a dialogue which was held in 2010. Speaking at the meeting, Vice President Dr. Philip Mpango says Africa has been mostly affected by effects of poverty and famine instead of having enough resources.
Ni muhimu sana sisi viongozi katika ngazi za juu kabisa.
It is very important for us as top leaders to listen attentively to the private sector and to the farmers to hear them out, receive their advice and understand challenges that they face in advancing agriculture as a business. Leaders must be actively involved in listening to the concerns of our small and medium-scale farmers, as well as those of investors in the agricultural sector.
He says Brazil is a good development partner for African countries in agriculture, as Brazil is advanced technologically.
Misingi ambayo tunaiona ni muhimu izingatiwe.
The fundamental principles we recognize as essential must be upheld if we make faster progress in developing crop farming, livestock keeping, and fishing, as well in adapting technologies, which I believe will help us to achieve our set goals. The good news is that Brazil is a large market, and it also advancing in certain areas more than we have. We can work together to fight more effectively against the grave challenges of hunger and poverty.
Vice President insists on friendly policies that will secure production opportunities and markets for private sector agricultural products. Teddy Mparanyenga, TBC News.
Now from Brazil, let's go to Japan, whereby Prime Minister Kassim Jaliwa has arrived in Osaka, Japan, to represent President Samia Suluhu Hassan in World Expo 2025 Osaka. According to a statement issued by Prime Minister's office, Prime Minister will attend the conference on business, investment and tourism that will involve entrepreneurs from Tanzania and Japan. He is also expected to attend bilateral meetings aiming at strengthening cooperation between Tanzania and Japan. World Expo 2025 Osaka started on the 13th of April and is scheduled to end in October. This is the second time for Osaka, Japan to host the World Expo. Last time it was in 1970. Every 23rd of May, Tanzania joins other countries around the world to mark World Fistula Day. The devastating condition, which is caused by complications during childbirth, results in pain, isolation, and indignity, and yet is entirely preventable and treatable. Kanki Magomole reports.
This is the 12th year since CCBRT Hospital joined other countries in commemorating World Fistula Day, with the aim of mobilizing the communities, expanding the scope of fistula care, strengthening partnerships, and pooling resources to end the problem of fistula as part of a broader plan to improve reproductive health services. Dr. Peter Majinge, a specialist and gynecologist and fistula surgeon at CCBRT Hospital, says since the start of efforts to combat fistula in 2003, Tanzania has made great strides in providing fistula treatment. He says despite these efforts, there is still a challenge for fistula patients who have been living with obstetric fistula for more than 10 years from various parts of the country, explaining that the situation is a sign that there is still work to be done to ensure that fistula is eradicated.
Bado tunapokea kina mama ambao wamekaa na fistula kwa muda mrefu.
There are quite a number of fistula patients that we receive at the hospital, and most have been living with obstetric fistula. So, if you know anyone with such a condition, our services are free and get treated.
Dr. Majinge says over the past 3 years, from 2022 to 2024, CCBRT Hospital has operated on 1,450 women, and from January this year, 98 fistula patients have undergone surgery at the hospital.
Women should not be afraid or embarrassed. Fistula can be treated.
I'm a fistula survivor. I feel confident.
This year's theme, her health, her right, shaping a future without fistula. Kanki Mwegomole, TBC News.
Thank you, Kanki, for that report. The JKCI Cardiac Institute, JKCI, and Burkina Faso have signed a memorandum of understanding to collaborate in providing specialized cardiac treatment services. The agreement was signed in Dar es Salaam by the Executive Director of JKCI, Dr. Peter Kisenge, and the Presidential Advisor and National Coordinator of the Presidential Health Program from Burkina Faso, Drissa Traore.
This really it marks a significant milestone for our institute. If you remember again the way we started our institute, now we are talking JKCI, one of the leading cardiac center in East and Central Africa, probably maybe one of the big cardiac center in Africa. So we are sure that we are going to support you guys to establish a cardiac unit at Burkina Faso. We are going to share knowledge and skills between our doctors, Burkina Faso, and here at the JKCI Cardiac Institute. We will support you on training from all cadres, from the nurses, biomedical, cardiovascular technicians, doctors, pediatric, cardiac surgeon, and also cardiologists, especially those who want also to do the intervention cardiology.
Traore, who is leading a second delegation of experts from Burkina Faso, praised JKCI's services and leadership, noting that their success has inspired efforts to enhance cardiac health services in his country.
He's Drissa Traore. I'm advisor to the President, Captain Ibrahim Traore from Burkina Faso, and also the National Coordinator of Presidential Health Initiative. So I led a delegation to Tanzania here for the second time to visit JKCI Cardiac Institute. as the national coordinator of Presidential Health Initiative, we were very impressed the first time when we visited JKCI for the expertise, for the knowledge, for the skills, and for the management system.
So at JKCI, we believe in collaboration, and we believe to change the cardiac care in Africa through collaboration. There are two ways of collaboration with our friends from Europe, but we believe in collaboration within ourselves in Africa. Because we believe we have the same kind of patient, we have the same culture, we have the same challenges, so we can help each other and solve our own problems.
In February this year, President of Burkina Faso, Captain Ibrahim Traoré, sent a team of experts to JKCI to learn from its transformation into one of Africa's leading cardiac care institutions, with the aim of applying those lessons to improve heart treatment services in Burkina Faso. The Minister of Education, Science and Technology, Professor Adolphe Mkenda, says the completion of the construction of the East African Center of Excellence for Cardiovascular Sciences, Mloganzila Branch, Phase 2, will enable the country to have many specialists in cardiovascular diseases and neurology. Professor Mkenda made the remarks in Dar es Salaam during the launch of the project at Mloganzila campus. Emmanuel Samuel reports.
According to the World Health Organization, WHO, cardiovascular diseases are cited as the leading causes of death in the world, whereby in 2019 they contributed to death of 17.9 million people, equivalent to 32% of death. To ensure those diseases are controlled, the government of Tanzania, with financial support from the African Development Bank, is coming up with a major project for Center of Excellence.
What I can say to Tanzania is let's celebrate this achievement. And let me say for sure that it is because of hard work of lecturers and leadership of Muhimbili University that they managed to write a document that has been accepted for funding with help of Ministry of Health and also Ministry of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation.
Honorable Minister, I also assure you that now we are starting to roll this particular project. That means the project will need a lot of money as per approved work plan. For me, I will ensure that the money will be disbursed accordingly. Once they perform, I will approve, we disburse and implement.
The center is also expected to attract medical tourism in Africa.
Be foreigners coming here for treatment, they will pay a hefty amount of money, and that money will help us to expand the services and subsidize the service we offer to Tanzanians, but also it will help us to save the money we spend sending people abroad for treatment that will be done here after the center is completed.
The center within this region is planning to enhance its scope, benefiting not only Tanzanians, but also neighboring countries within the East Africa.
Dr. Rodrick Kisenge, the director of the Mloganzila Cardiovascular Diseases Center, mentions things that will be done in the project. The first phase of the project has been mentioned to involve the preparation of cardiovascular diseases, including the construction of teaching facilities and research studies on cardiovascular diseases. Reporting from Dar es Salaam, Emmanuel Samuel, TBC News.
The Minister of Foreign Affairs and East African Cooperation, Ambassador Mahmoud Thabit Kombo, says as Europe Day 2025 marks 50 years of the EU-Tanzania Partnership, the EU has remained a true and steadfast partner to Tanzania, particularly in the energy sector, among other key priority areas. Speaking in Dar es Salaam at the Europe Day celebrations, Ambassador Kombo further highlighted that between 2021 and 2027, the EU has committed a total of 726 million euros to Tanzania. This financial support has been directed towards clean energy transition, digital transformation, education, and public sector governance.
Under the current 2021 to 2027 cooperation framework is the structure that we have with EU. EU has committed a total of 726 million euros to the United Republic of Tanzania. These resources are advancing work in critical areas such as clean energy, digital transformation, education and skills, green growth, and public sector governance. To further cement this cooperation, Tanzania and European Union convened a formal partnership dialogue in 2024. Our cooperation with the EU is not only long-standing, it is active, well-aligned, and delivering real impact for the people of Tanzania, as you can see also in this evidence that I gave just now. The EU has consistently shown its commitment to supporting Tanzania national development priorities, not through dialogue only, but through substantial and sustained financial support.
On the other hand, the EU ambassador to Tanzania, Christian Grohl, emphasized that the EU's vision is fully aligned with both the Tanzania Development Vision 2050 and the newly launched Tanzania Foreign Policy. She also reaffirmed the EU's strong commitment to deepening cooperation with Tanzania.
Aligned. The European Union fully supports the Union's Vision 2050, seeking increasing value addition in key value chains, critical raw materials or sustainable agriculture, digitalization, or the improvement of transport infrastructure. And we are very strongly involved in all the priorities areas under the updated Tanzanian foreign policy, for example, blue economy and clean energy. So I think the way ahead on future cooperation is very clear. Now this brings me to the motto of today's celebration, I Got Power. And I don't know if you realized it, but we have a focus on energy today. This is one of the cooperation areas that we have been very strongly active in Tanzania, and we have a number of representatives also from different energy-related organizations and private companies here.
Various environmental stakeholders have called on community members to have a culture of planting trees so as to preserve the environment. They made their remarks during the inauguration ceremony of Edu Green campaign, which aims at planting trees and restoring ecology. Peter Mganga reports.
Global Ecology Restoration Foundation, in collaboration with Tanzania Forest Services TFS and the Association of Tanzania Water Suppliers ATAWAS, have launched Edu Green campaign, which will be implemented for 3 years. Bagamoyo district in Coastal region is where the exercise begins. Students at Mkenge Primary School join hands together with environmental stakeholders to plant about 500 trees. I have heard good things about planting trees because these trees have many benefits, including fresh air. The compound of Mkenge Primary School is surrounded by many trees. These trees are part of the Environmental Protection Initiative. Abubakar Idi, a forest officer from Tanzania Forest Services TFS in Bagamoyo district, explains how his organization plays a significant role in restoring land degradation. In this year, we have managed to plant 17,000 trees. The aim of planting these trees is to protect the environment and to embark green environment in Tanzania. The contribution of social organization is an important part of raising awareness on the importance of tree planting.
We are supporting the local communities right now to engage in their own forms of planting trees. Planted trees can go for timber for long term, 6 to 7 years, 10 years, someone can go for timber production. Also from tree planting, someone can go for fruit production.
This is a group of students and environmental stakeholders across different areas. But the purpose of this gathering is to ensure the accessibility of having a clear environment through planting some trees. Some of the environmental stakeholders praise the capability of the Edu Green initiative.
Trees offer a protection when it comes to soil erosion in the water banks to prevent the non-water revenue.
I feel good. I am happy to do that in Tanzania, and it's my first time, so I am happy.
I think it's a great idea to commit the children in this project, so you can have a next generation that is really committed to the protection of the environment, and they are part of this project.
The Edu Green campaign will be implemented in Coast, Morogoro, Lindi, and Mtwara regions. Peter Mganga, TBC News, Bagamoyo.
Now, before winding up local news, let's have a look at today's exchange rates according to the Bank of Tanzania, BOT. Do not miss TBC News every weekday to know all the latest in exchange rates. Sports news up next. And in sports news, the chairman of the Darlam City basketball team, Simon Joy, believes that his team has the power and capability of defending the title of the ongoing Darlam Basketball League. Joy says his team has quality players that can defeat any team participating in the Darlam Basketball League, and they are determined to bring back the title they lost last season.
For this season, for us, is getting back our champion. We want to be the champion of the Darlam League and also the National Basketball League. Yeah, and also to participate in the BAL. In basketball, you don't have to scare anyone. You have to be ready for everybody. Yeah. So we are ready. We are born ready. So we're here to compete and finally get the championship.
That was sports news. And now, before we wind up the news bulletin for tonight, let's have a look at the weather forecast for the next 24 hours.
Hello, dear weather followers. My name is Jess Makwata from Tanzania Meteorological Authority, and this is 24 hours weather forecast starting from tonight. We're expecting wind to flat speed of 20 kilometers per hour for Lake Victoria as well as northern part of Lake Tanganyika. While over the southern part of Lake Tanganyika together with Lake Nyasa, we're expecting wind to flat speed of 40 kilometers per hour. Although over the northern coast together with the southern coast, we expect wind to flat speed of 50 kilometers per hour. Therefore, period of strong winds reaching 50 kilometers per hour as well as reaching 40 kilometers per hour are expected over these areas. So people conducting marine activities over the entire coastal belt together with Lake Nyasa and southern part of Lake Tanganyika are advised to take necessary precautions. During the night, we expect mainly partly cloud condition over most part of the country. While for tomorrow, we expect Lake Victoria Basin to feature partly cloud condition, thunder showers over a few areas in sun period. And the rest part of the country, just partly cloud condition and long sun periods. And now let's have the next 4 days weather forecast. Dar es Salaam, we expect it to experience just light rain showers over a few areas. Dodoma, mainly partly cloud condition and long sun period is expected for the coming 4 days. While over Mbeya region, we expect mainly partly cloud condition and sun periods. Mwanza region, we expect it to experience mainly partly cloud condition and long sun periods. However, over Kilimanjaro region, we expect partly cloud condition and sun periods. Morogoro region is expected to feature light rain showers on 27th and 28th of May 2025, while over Arusha, mainly partly cloud condition and sun period. And that is what we have from Tanzania Meteorological Authority. Thanks for watching, and have a good time.
And on that note, we're ending our news bulletin for tonight, but don't miss our next bulletin in Kiswahili at 11 p.m. I am Faitha Ngaga. Good night.